Welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Lens with your hosts, Jake and Scott. In this week's episode, we're hitting the diamond. We're talking baseball, but with whiskey. So sit back and buckle into the latest episode of the Bourbon Lens. Drew, Andy, thank you for joining us to talk about baseball, kind of, with the Field of Dreams Whiskey Company. Glad to have you all on the podcast.
Thanks for having us, Jake.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, it's one of the most exciting times of the year. Baseball just wrapped up. We saw an epic World Series, probably one of the better ones I can remember in recent history. And we are getting to talk about, something that you talk about all the time, or we always talk about at work, is building your field of dreams. And that's what you all have kind of done with this whiskey company. Drew or Andy, whichever one, would love to know just how you all got this started. And I'm going to let Drew's also a former Major League Baseball player. I'm going to let him do all his hyping.
You mentioned I had a 8-year big league career, was a reliever closer for the Nationals for 6 years, and then went Toronto, Seattle, and Cincinnati. And throughout those stops, I fell in love with collecting bourbon and collecting really cool stories that nobody else had. Luckily, it was before the boom really happened. And, my best friend from growing up, Andy, is the guy that really helped me hunt. And we just kind of, like I said, fell in love with that was you wanted to have the bottle nobody else did in the clubhouse. That was kind of the cool thing. And at that time, it was more about who you knew, not what kind of money you had. You had to know the right people. And so just, like I said, fell in love with that idea. And we were just on a road trip in 2018 when I was rehabbing my elbow. We're actually going to a W pay-per-view and just kind of spitballing, if we were ever going to do a whiskey brand, what we would do. And that's when the idea came up to take the corn from the Field of Dreams movie site and make it into bourbon. And it was kind of something that we essentially spitballed for years. And I never had anybody tell me why it wouldn't work outside of the obvious of like getting the corn.
Can they sell us the corn?
Right. Outside of like that big thing. But yeah, so just when I retired and at the end of 2020, I called my best friend from Blaine, Tyler Clippard, and he's like, dude, we should try the whiskey thing. If you can do it, I'm in. I'm like, sweet. So immediately switched gears and was waiting for somebody to tell us no at some point. And here we are, year 4, and on wood, so far so good. It's been an absolute blast. I mean, like, we can't ask for anything more to be able to hang out with my best buddies and design cool bottles and great stories and have good juice at the same time.
So when you were traveling around the country, making stops in all the different states for the 182 games? 162. I mean, I'm sure you popped into a lot of random liquor stores along the way. Bottles. Is that kind of what sparked your interest?
Yeah, so it actually really started at a bourbon bar called Hardwater in San Francisco. So we were out there, and Andy found it, and they were doing really cheap Pappy flights. So we went there, and the owner of the bar came up and started talking whiskey, and it was like, well, if you think Pappy's good, you need to try this AH 16. So once we tried that, I was like, well, first of all, he goes, let me see if I even want to sell it to you guys, and which I loved. That's my hook. So as long as you tell me no, then I'm going to absolutely have to have it. And so I had it. It was incredible. Read the book on the flight home. And then from then on, every time we went to Cincy, that was the big one. I would just go hit up Uncorked and, all those different ones. And luckily in the off season, I was in Indianapolis. So Andy and I would just go down there and go to every single liquor store and just be like, who is the guy? Who is the guy? And finally, we got plugged in a little bit. And yeah, so kind of a cool full circle thing that we've done bottle signings at Uncorked down there. So it's kind of like where it all started. But yeah, it's been a blast.
Very cool.
No, that's awesome. The old hunting days were awesome before it became, lines or paying secondary prices for everything. Did it ever become that, like, measuring contest, for lack of better terms, in the clubhouse?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And that's part of why I got into bourbon, because the guys that were into wine had a lot more commas in their paychecks. I fell in love with the bourbon side of it. Kind of got into it through Scotch, again, thanks to Andy. And yeah, it just became who had the cooler bottle. I got a lot of guys into it. So, yeah, it was always a pretty fun contest.
Oh, man, it's everything in a clubhouse or a locker room can become a measuring contest very
Hmm.
quickly.
Yes.
When guys get testosterone flowing, it is a quick way to drive people crazy.
Well, yeah, and I mean, just think about it. You essentially have these guys that are playing a kid's game, but getting paid good adult money, and that's a recipe for success.
Yeah. Well, especially when you're playing for good teams, right? When you were at the Nats were, not the Nats we know today.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's all in cycles. I mean, when I first got there, we lost 100 games, and that was part of the why I loved playing there was actually making the team relevant. I mean, I was just a part of it, but being able to see Strasburg and Harper up close and seeing how guys like Jason Worth turn that team around, like it was pretty cool because it's a transient city. So anytime that you can become somebody's favorite team in that city, then you're doing something pretty special.
For sure. And then you go and play for like more established franchises that, have been around, longer periods of time. When you obviously you had respect for the game, was there one like stadium or anything that ever stood out to you in addition to like playing at it that also had a great bourbon whiskey selection?
So I didn't get to check out as much as the whiskey in the stadium. Usually we were at the mercy of, maybe a clubhouse person, but we used to send them out to go get stuff. But usually San Diego, they have a couple of really good liquor stores that are down there in the gas lamp district that people would hit up. And if you wanted to pay a little extra, a lot extra for those bottles that you usually can't get, then you can do it. So if guys did well playing cards on the plane, then they would tend to maybe scoot over there a little bit. But yeah, I mean, like I said, San Diego is always a cool one. Like I said, from a stadium standpoint, I always loved Dodger Stadium. The thing is, it's so big. I always say it had the longest delay of when something happened to when you hear it from the crowd, which is always kind of a cool thing. Yeah, I don't know. There's just something different about that place. And it's a great speaker system. So that's the other reason why I love it.
Well, and speaking of the Dodgers, right, they just won an Epic World Series. And funny enough, Will Smith actually is one of my good friend's nephews. So, in the random stat going around right now is that a Will Smith has won a World Series for the last 6 years, which is
Oh, yeah,
hilarious.
that's right.
Wow.
When you're playing in high pressure games like that, whether it's an NLCS or a pennant, race, whatever, um, like, how do you calm yourself as you go to make a pitch, right? That's a process, right? Just like
Yeah.
making this whiskey brand is a process. How do you calm yourself to be able to deliver, the ball in the right place or the right location to try to get that out or, get to the next pitch so that you can get the out?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing I always tell people, the game's only as big as you make it in your head. I mean, it's the old, like I said, I'm an Indiana guy, so it's the Hoosiers mentality of measuring the goal, right? Like, it didn't matter if the bases were loaded, nobody was on, whatever. Like, my goal was to win two of the first three pitches. If I won two of the first three pitches, then I was more than likely to be successul. Like, it's just kind of minimizing it and just having that tunnel vision. And like, I mean, for me, that forced me to lock in anytime I felt like, you're the guy. It's like, wouldn't want to be that guy out there. Like, I loved those situations where like I would sometimes in like 3-run games, I would tend to pitch myself into a little bit of a corner. I don't know. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but yeah, I loved it, man. That was always my thing. It helped. It forced me to simplify the game.
For sure. The Aroldis Chapman of them all, right? He always seemed to make it a little bit harder on himself as a Reds fan, right? I feel like you have choices here in Kentucky. Either you're a Reds fan or a Cardinals fan, or somehow you're a Cubs fan. I don't know how
Hmm.
that happens, but you end up in the NL Central regardless. So now that you have had an illustrious career, because 8 years is longer than most people have in the bigs, and you go to create this whiskey, what was the kind of the first step in that process? I guess it was getting the corn.
Yeah, it was actually just reaching out to people in my network and just kind of getting a lay of the land of what first steps should be. So I have a college teammate that started a fund with an old Diageo guy. So I talked to him and just to make sure like, hey, is this a good idea actually? Or like, and then, I have a family member that works in food and bev. So kind of got got some information from him on like, here's what you need to invest in, et cetera. And like I said, I just started from there and annoyed a lot of people with a lot of phone calls and asked a ton of questions and tried to learn the business inside and out from every sector. I learned distribution's the name of the game. So I learned about distribution first. And yeah, it's been a crash course to say the least, but I've been very, very fortunate to have people that have made a really solid careers in this business that have helped me kind of figure it out as I go.
And that's how we sent Andy to Arkansas.
That's right. This is why Andy is in Arkansas.
This is state number 13 for us, I believe.
Nice. Is it, getting on the road, introducing a new spirit in a crowded environment? What's the uptick? How are distributors feeling about this as you all kind of pump that into market?
Yeah, I think we're really fortunate that we've got a name that's nationally recognizable. So as we enter new states and new territories and going into new liquor stores, it's something that it's a little bit easier to make that connection than maybe a regional brand or something like that. It's something that we're very fortunate to have. And we try to hit the ground running with a lot of time on the ground, but also, like Drew alluded to earlier, we do a lot of bottle signings to kind of bring people that know the brand to the stores, hometown heroes. Like last year in Iowa, we had a signing with Casey Blake, who's from Des Moines, and he played in the big leagues for 10 years. And it's just kind of ways to get people to the stores and familiar with the brand. And for a lot of this, we've sold online for the last 3 years. A lot of it's finally being in market for a market that we've sold through Seal Box and some other spots for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, the name of the game is to get out and see the people, right? David Mandel always says it here in Kentucky, sips to lips, right? You got to get people to appreciate what you all are doing to create, the best possible whiskey that people will enjoy over and over again, which brings me to the latest thing that you all have done, which might be one of the most interesting projects when it comes to whiskey creation that I've heard of. Scott, have you heard of anything more interesting from an innovation perspective than this?
No, I mean, quite frankly, it's a little wild. I mean, it's crazy, but
this is how you know that we're outsiders in the industry, is because we did this and nobody told us no, and we found a way to get it out there.
There's nothing wrong with being the first to do something. You all have a release coming out here very soon, and it's called the Field of Dreams All-Star Whiskey. It's 30 distilleries in one bottle. So you all have looked, far and wide to all 30 cities to get a distillate, whether that be bourbon, rye, American single malt, Canadian rye whiskey, or wheat whiskey, and brought that to one of our friends in the industry, Murphy Quint, to blend this together. So how did this come about? What was the hardest, distillery or distillate to find? Because that's what I'm interested in, because I can think of distilleries in most places, but not every town. I can't think of a place where I would kind of lean to like, oh, hey, how can I get a barrel of whiskey from Joe Schmo in Miami, Florida?
Yeah. So we've had this idea for a little bit over a year now. So every Monday, it's our ownership group, some of the other former retired players, after their kids go to bed, we jump on and just kind of treat it like the locker room, where we just kind of hang out and talk about how things are going, and then kind of brainstorm ideas for the long term. And the idea popped up. I think we might have had the name before we had the product. It was just Field of Dreams All-Star. And I was just trying to figure out like what that even meant. Kind of worked backwards. And it was, take a barrel from a distillery in every major league market and blend it in with ours. And like you kind of alluded to, Jake, it hinges on 2 or 3 cities. And if they don't have a barrel for you, the whole project blows up. So I think the most challenging ones we had were Boston. There's only a couple distilleries out there making whiskey that had it available. San Diego was another challenging one. But the others, there's a lot of cities that have a lot of quality whiskey. So it was hard to even pick and choose in some other ones. It was the project I think we thought was going to take about 2 years to get out, and very, very fortunate that a lot of distilleries were willing to not only sell us a barrel, but you guys can see on the back of that bottle, like they're willing to put their name out there, put their logo on the bottle with us, and kind of join us on this project. And again, you guys kind of talked about it too. Murphy Quint, one of our mutual friends in this industry. I don't think we get to market without him on this one, because he is a mad scientist on the blending side, and being able to partner up with him and let him kind of work his magic when you get 30 different sources plus ours all in the same bottle is kind of a testament to his skill and his craft on something like that.
Yeah. Absolutely crazy. Is there one like distillate that stood out to you that like kind of shined brighter than others?
We have tasted through most of them. Murphy got a lot of it, and a lot of it was, it's kind of trust. It's like, these distilleries pick us your best barrel and do that. I will say, to kind of pivot off that, like I thought that maybe we would be getting a lot of younger juice from these distilleries that maybe they didn't want to part with some of their good stuff, but the average age of the whiskey in this is 7 years. It ranges from 1 year from Whiskey Del Lock in Tucson to 25 years in Canada. And we were getting a lot of quality aged juice from some of these distilleries. So to me, it was cool to taste, a lot of these distilleries that you've read about or you maybe can't get in your market and stuff like that. I mean, I'm thinking about the single malt we got from Boulder Spirits, or we got the rye from Sagamore that was amazing. And I don't remember having a bad barrel. And you guys know these brands that are in this. Wow, there's some really unique stuff, and it all kind of plays well together within the release.
I mean, I was just looking at the to see how many of these have been guests on the podcast. Really, it's like, damn.
Yeah, well, how do you think I found
lot.
all these people's emails? I was just listening to you guys and pull them up.
There we go.
I mean, I sent hundreds of emails to different distilleries trying to connect with people and do this, and it was really eye opening how welcoming the industry is, because we're outsiders and we've kind of stayed in our own lane for the last couple of years, and this is kind of our first foray into maybe bourbon nerd territory, and we were welcomed from a lot of these other distilleries in a way I didn't think we were going to be.
Well, and it's interesting because like, what's interesting about this project is there's no Tennessee, there's no Kentucky, there's no Indiana, right? So the three of the largest producing whiskey states, by and large, are not in there. So it's like the flavors and love maybe in whiskey that, have a lot of that product are not in there. So I find that to be probably the most interesting thing. But like, some of these places, like we love Boulder and what Alistair and, formerly Ryan was there, obviously Cedar Ridge. We've had Dad's Hat, Catoctin Creek. We've had a lot of these on here, surprisingly, but man, it's you kind of have to rack your brain to find all of the different whiskeys that are available. And I do love that you got Old Potrero in here. Like that was the only thing that made sense in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Drew's a Stanford guy. It was, living in Indy, we were able to get Old Potrero back in the day. So like there's a soft spot there. And I was really, really psyched when we were able to kind of wrangle them in.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a fun list of distilleries.
It is. And the bottle's cool with the jerseys on the front. So for people who are watching, right, you got the jerseys here on the front that kind of mimic. I'll say mimic because there's slight differences. They are not a licensing issue.
That's right.
And then you have all the distilleries here on the back. So we'll make sure we post a cool picture of the bottle when it comes out. And like you said, it's 108 proof, around 7 years old, average age. And it had a really interesting makeup, like the final compounding, like flavor or the mash bill build, for lack of better terms. And I was just going to pull it up real quick because I thought that was interesing.
Somebody actually did the math.
I do a lot of Excel in this job that I don't.
That's a hell of a math problem.
Yeah. A lot of
91,432.
No, so that one's our Player Series bourbon.
Oh, I was
the
read
final
that
mash
one
bill
wrong.
for All Star is right around 65% corn. I think it's 15% rye, 12% malted barley, 8% wheat, and 0.02% millet from San Diego Distillery. Millet just sneaking in there.
It's a wild ride of a whiskey.
And I think it's relatively cohesive considering the amount of variety in there. That's what I think Murph does a great job with, that it's not just a storm of flavor getting thrown at you. It's a fun ride.
Yeah. The nose is very inviting. I said this before, but it's got that brown sugar, cinnamon, Quaker oat cereal note that I really like.
The term I would use, like on the palate's vegetal. It's got a lot of like, it's like corn husk is what it kind of smells and tastes like a little bit. And some of those like true like earthy vegetal notes that complement the caramels and the vanillas and the cinnamon, as Scott said. So it's a wild ride. Every time I sip it, it's something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how
you
it
got to drink
couldn't
it
be.
until you get all 30 different
Yeah.
sources, and you can pick them out.
You got to close your eyes and you got to talk about one whiskey that you pulled out. Yeah.
Yeah, until you get the smoked single malt from Whiskey Del Bach and the Monongahela Rye from Pennsylvania and all those ones together.
Yeah, that would considering we've had both of those guys on, they probably couldn't be two of the most different people in the whiskey industry.
Right.
Because Mark does his own thing, and Dad's Hat's so old school with the small format barrels, some large format. You could get a lot of different things from them. I think it's cool. I just love the play on baseball too, right? Like make it uniquely yours, and it's perfect for a baseball fan, right? That is just looking for something unique as a gift, right? Like this is something you go and you take to, you know, Johnny's dad who loves the pastime, right? And like, hey, like let's sip through this and let's turn on spring training or opening day or an all-star game, right?
There
And
you go.
watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah. It's almost like a spin on, and shout out to our friend Zach and Frank from Up Rocks. But they do like, those listicles where it's like best whiskey to drink from all 30 teams in the NMLB, and it's like, well, here's one it'll do it all for you. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It is
Side note, I
truly the
met Frank
all-star.
this past weekend, and he's like the coolest person I've ever been around in my life. He made me feel
Absolutely.
insecure.
Yeah. I would term him as the swaggiest person in bourbon.
Yes.
He definitely's got that going for him. Now, we obviously are spending some time talking about this unique project, but you do have standard offerings in market that people can enjoy, and they all have, kind of different things on them. And so I actually started off with the small batch, and I've kept the plastic wrap here so the gold foil doesn't get messed up. But there's some unique things that are on your bottle that people should be looking for when they open it. So can you share a little bit about like the unique features people could be hunting and looking for on the bottles that they may be picking up for small batch?
Yeah, so our small batches are our everyday offerings. We like to say it's a pack of tops that gets you drunk. We essentially have licensed 40 and counting MLB legends, and we actually hide them under the foil capsule underneath. So hidden underneath is one of the guys. So this one looks like Chris Sabo. And so, yeah, you have no idea until you open it up. Kind of one of those things where we first came out with our player series that I'll dive into in a second, but nobody was opening it because, they just wanted to hold on to it. So we wanted to come up with something that made people open the bottle and, actually drink the juice, because we do take a lot of pride in the juice side of it too.
I got Doc
Cool.
Ellis.
There you go.
I'm doing this live. I like one of those unboxings or, ripping packs
That's right.
on TV. So we're going to do it live here.
Jake, do you know the story behind
Let's see
Doc
who we
Ellis?
got.
I don't. So let's hear it while Scott rips open his tops packet.
So Doc Ellis is famous for pitching a no-hitter while he was on LSD. So we've got Hall of Fame players in this. We've got people like Johnny Bench and Chipper Jones and stuff like that. But we've also got what we call Hall of Fame stories like Doc Ellis, and ones where you might look it up and understand why we put them in there. There's some people were in there for fun, some people were in there for fame, and some people were in there just because we're self-indulgent 90s kids like Jay Buhner and Chris Sabo like Drew just pulled.
Yeah. I mean, I do like unique facts about sports. It's like, why is Kurt Schilling's bloody sock so amazing, right? Like you could just have Kurt Schilling's bloody sock.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got a fan page.
Yeah, barrels. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, for us, that's always a good talking point. Like if you crack this open with somebody that's a baseball fan or even that's not, and you can go, oh, hey, here's a cool story about him. Like you said, mainstream stories, but also like some niche ones that.
So Scott, who'd you pull?
So we got, well, interestingly, Chris Sabo as well.
Oh man, see,
Nice.
Sabo heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Sabo heavy in this last run? You did send us a whole bag of corks too, so Scott can pull out many corks that he would like to switch out, which is kind of cool. So how do you approach, obviously, I was a Braves fan growing up. These Braves were awesome if you were a baseball fan. As a pitcher, I'm sure you loved Glavine, Maddox, and Schmaltz. It doesn't get much better than those three guys pitching for one team. But Chipper obviously was the guy along with Andrew Jones. So how do you approach a conversation with like Chipper's people? Be like, hey, we want to, do this with you to do that. Do you say, hey, Chipper, like, let's have a drink and talk about it and give him the whiskey to do that? Or how does that work? Because I feel like that's a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, so we actually just use the alumni associations. We go through them and they have the contacts for the guys. And so it's kind of a nice way for us to, put money in some guys' pockets, that might not be getting it. Chipper's fine. But, but yeah, it's a really cool thing. And, it's neat for us too, because we'll get to, I've gotten to meet some guys or talk to guys that I grew up watching and I didn't get to play with or whatever. Pretty neat way to kind of, again, be selfish and go, oh, this guy's really cool. Let's get him involved. And yeah, it's a fun thing. And like I said, to be able to see people's reactions when they get somebody like, oh, no way, like, and have like a really cool story about it. Like it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's super, super interesting. And then I have to ask the question because there was a Big Cat and PFT did an interview with Chase Utley and they made him pull out the gold card. So that thing's actually real.
Yes, it is.
Have you used it?
I
You're
came up
rubbing it in right now.
I know, man. I came up just short of getting mine. So I was like 2 weeks short, but the other two teammates with me have one. So luckily I can piggyback theirs. So that's, another one of those things that like I almost did it. So that's another reason why our small batch is 99 proof, because I ended my career with 99 career saves and just couldn't get to 100. So
Yeah.
might as well just
Like to rub it in on him.
lean in. Yeah, just lean into it at some point,
Yeah. A good laugh.
Well, I didn't know what qualified you for the gold card, so my bad.
Yeah, it's 8 years of service time exactly. So I was just short. Yeah, it's all right.
Sticky little bastards. So talk to us about the All-Star Player Series, because that's also a unique thing that you all have done as well. So you've created kind of 3 offerings, 2 LTOs and 1 like everyday offering for everybody.
Yeah, so our Player Series, this is year 3. And so what we do there is we do 1 bottle for every player in Major League history. Jake, you said you like random sports facts. So in the history of Major League Baseball before the season, only 23,370 guys have ever played Major League Baseball. So we hand number and actually build our website. So if you go on there, plug in the number, it'll show you the player that's associated with it. And so it's something that first couple of years we kept the same, but now we're going to change the blend every year to kind of tell a story. So last year was 108 proof. So one was for Ohtani homers, but also that's how many stitches are in a baseball. So kind of a fun way to lean into a story from the year before. Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of neat because you can have like some guy that had a cup of coffee at most, or you can have a Hall of Famer. So it's a fun little thing that I think has really, really caught on, which is fun. I just did it at first because I thought it was cool.
There's 108 stitches in a baseball?
Yep.
Damn, I would have never guessed that. You could have asked me and I've been like 30, 40.
It's a lot. There's a lot because you got to be able to grip that thing and let it rip.
Yep, and they're all hand stitched.
That's definitely some random sports facts. There you go, Jake.
So you brought up Shohei Ohtani, so I can't not ask this question as someone who's played. Is there anything more impressive than what that guy's done in the last 5 years?
No. I mean, it's not even close. I'm sure somebody will be close to it. I mean, it's going to change the game forever, but there's nothing like it. I mean, I remember the first time seeing him pitch, like a video of him pitching, and just going, those mechanics are just to die for, right? Like, it's amazing. And then for him to be the best player at the plate, and then also and then to be able to steal all these bases too.
Yeah,
like it's
all
a
around.
joke. Yeah, he's a true creative player, and yeah, man. I mean, I think people need to soak it in because it's unheard of.
Well, and that's the thing that I think that's most interesting about him is he's not a small individual. Like, he is a pretty big human, and the way he runs the bases reminds you of Bonds at the Pirates, right? Like, with the power and speed. And he's still 50 bases last year when he was recovering from Tommy John. Like, that's an asinine.
Well, yeah. Well, and you see it now. Like, luckily I'm not trying anymore, but it's kind of like the NBA revolution where you have guys that are coming in that are 6'4", 6'5", and can move like they're 5'10". Like it's pretty amazing to see because, you used to have guys that were that tall or even taller, and it's like, okay, they're maybe low 90s or whatever. All those guys now are throwing $1, $1, $2. Like it's crazy.
Like it's nothing.
Yeah, so it's certainly a different game, and again, grateful to be selling bourbon out of this.
For 100%. Back when I big Bronson Arroyo fan, just loved Bronson.
We got yeah.
But like I just loved when he would, wherever he would always pinch hit, and he was with the Reds for a while, and so like bottom of the ninth, like we'd use the bench, and like Bronson would come in, and he hit like 230 like career, and it's like. It's a hell of a thing for a pitcher who doesn't hit every day. So to see Ohtani like near 3, is just, and getting 1,000 plate appearances, like it's crazy.
Well, I mean, and again, you got to think too that, a pitcher can have a kind of a vanity batting average because they're not paying attention to him. Like when Ohtani's getting scouted and treated like he should be like the best hitter in the league. But he has to double prepare, like it's insane. Like there's never an off, that off switch doesn't exist. Like it's just not possible. But yeah, speaking of Bronson, I have great videos on my phone from when I played with him that he would pregame guitar and just, dude, the best. Just crushing songs. And now, obviously out touring. So
yeah,
that's how he got ready for games, right?
Yeah, that's every other day that he wasn't throwing, he would just sit there and strum away, and it was
that's pretty cool.
One of the highest leg kicks in all of baseball.
Yeah, hurts my hamstring just thinking about it.
His delivery and Hideo Nomo's might be two of the most interesting.
Big. I'm a huge Hideo Nomo fan.
Johnny Cueto's got pretty turned too as he got older.
El Duque, it was like I was a big Nomo and then El Duque fan. So I at some point in my pitching careers, I did that. I had the Nomo twist and then I had the El Duque pause. So I tried to pay homage one way or another, I guess.
You got to let it rip. So paying homage, right? One of the most iconic, if not the most iconic baseball movie is The Field of Dreams, right? And that's really kind of what that is. And we haven't hit on this, and I think that's probably the most interesting thing. So this will be the last kind of topic of the night is ultimately you can still go there. If you've never watched the movie, go do yourself a service and pause the episode and then go watch the movie and then come back to this part. So growing up, obviously you've watched The Field of Dreams. How do you end up talking to the people where people can actually go and see the Field of Dreams where it was filmed? How do you get the corn?
Well, I just Googled who owned it, and then found the LLC, and then I created a LinkedIn because I never had a LinkedIn page, and then found somebody associated with the LLC and sent just a cold email, and luckily they were nice enough to reply, and yeah, here we are.
So it wasn't as hard as we think.
Yeah, I'm right place, right time, maybe.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was hoping that they were baseball fans. Luckily they were, and they were, they heard me out, put me in touch with Andy Ray, and Andy is just a couple years older than me, and he's a legacy farmer. And so I told him, like, hey man, like I got a crazy idea. I've got a passion for this. I was a product design major in college. Like, I'm here to tell, like, I'm not going to be a dick about this. Like, let's treat it the right way. Let's be authentic. So luckily it's worked out. And yeah, Andy's become one of my best friends out of the whole thing now too. So yeah, it's been pretty special.
So how long?
Yeah, go ahead.
How long have you guys been producing bourbon with the corn from the Field of Dreams?
Starting in 21. Yep. Beginning.
So your oldest corn is your oldest bourbon you've laid down is 4 years.
Yeah, it's approaching that the Field of Dreams game from 2021, the walk-off homer. So we'll have that coming here soon. But yeah, for years and years and years, all they were doing with that corn was selling it as speed corn for pigs. They were doing nothing with it. It's the most famous corn in the world. You got to bring it to the people, and
it's such a really cool story. Like I remember seeing this bottle for the first time, like not even related to this podcast or anything. I was just like, that's like storytelling 101. Like it's full circle. It's a full circle moment. So very cool. I mean, obviously you did this in college, like there's an element of that, but it's like, I think your professor would probably be proud.
Yeah, I actually took a class when I retired, so ended up dropping out again, and told my counselor that, or my advisor, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be dropping out again because I'm gonna do this whiskey thing." And he's always a supporter, so he's been buying all the online releases. So apparently, I've done all right.
Very
Sweet.
cool.
No, that's awesome. And going there, and obviously you've probably seen the field now, and all of that. Like, how kind of a cool experience was the first time you kind of walk through the corn, right? Because you can do the whole thing and see where they film it. Like, how did that make you all feel? Like, kind of seeing probably one of the most iconic, spaces in all of sports movie.
I mean, the first time we went out there, I wasn't really expecting much. I honestly was like, oh, I'm sure it'll be cool. But there's an aura about it. And, I think they were planting that day. So it wasn't even full corn yet. And then, yeah, going back when the corn's up is it's incredible. Like I said, it's hard to explain. I tell people that, I got to go there and play catch with my dad because of doing this. I took him to one of the games, and like that would have never happened if I wasn't doing this. So kind of a cool thing that, like, you don't anticipate that getting into this. So being able to do that. But yeah, I always tell people, like, it's the same story. If you're driving through Iowa, make sure you go by it, because it's neat. It's just something special about it.
No, that's awesome. Well, we just want to say first and foremost, thank you for taking time out of your all's evening to spend a little bit of time with us. And for the listeners, the guys were nice enough and they sent us 3 hats. So if you're listening to this episode, make sure you comment below, whether it's YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcast. Comment, like, subscribe, whatever. Send us a note saying that you listened to this episode all the way through, and that'll put you into a drawing for a hat. So we have one of these cool hats that I'm wearing right now if you are listening or watching on YouTube, but would love to get you all in the Field of Dreams kind of mantra here with us as we listen to this podcast. It's a very comfortable hat, by the way. So make sure you're like, subscribe, and checking all that out. And we will catch you all next time on the Bourbon Lens. Cheers.
Cheers.